Special apparitions of the first part of the precepts regarding the problem of prophecy, respect to the Blessed One, the Arahant. 1. A person who is endowed with the nature of wisdom, who is established in virtue, who has developed concentration and insight, who sees fear in the cycle of existence, who has effort as a fuel for burning defilements, who has wisdom as a means for preserving himself, that person should cut down the forest of attachment, that is, desire. 1. That is why the Blessed One spoke this Gita. Ask why. That is why the Blessed One spoke this Gita. Answer. It is said that during the night a Deva, whose name and origin are uncertain, approached the Blessed One at Savatthi, and in order to clear his doubts, asked him this question. Venerable Gautama, beings have a thorn, which is desire, which is entangled both inside and outside. Therefore, I would like to ask you, who can cut off this thorn? This is a summary of the Gatha. The name of desire is a net-like network. Indeed, that net is called Jada because it is like a network. That is, a network of matter. Plants such as bamboo, etc., are called jada because they are often formed in the senses, in images, etc., by the power of arising both below and above. This very desire, the Devaputa says, is bound both internally and externally, because it arises both in one's own condition and in the condition of others, in one's own nature and in the nature of others, in internal and external consciousness. The beings are entangled in the net of desire, which arises in this way, and they are entangled in it. He explained, all beings, all these species, are entangled in the net of desire, which is entangled in it, and are entangled, and are entangled, and are entangled, just as plants, such as bamboos, are entangled in the net of thorns, and are entangled and are blinded. In the same way, O Gautama, I asked you, O Gautama, that is, I asked you. The Deva called the Blessed One Gautama, after the name of the Gautama, and the word Goa, Vijdaye Jadam, was a Deva who asked, who can cut it off? That is, who can cut off this net of desire, which entangles the three worlds and remains like this. The Blessed One, on the other hand, acts with untainted wisdom in all Dhammas. He is the Deva of the Devas. The Devas are superior to the Devas. He is Indra, superior to the monks. Indra is Brahma, superior to the Brahmas. He is ardent in the four faculties of wisdom. He is tenfold in strength, has wisdom that is not obstructed by the Dhammas. He has eyes all around. He is questioned by the Devas. Therefore, when he was about to resolve this matter with the Deva Bodhisattva, he recited this verse. A wise man established in virtue, cultivated in concentration and insight, who is diligent, burns the heat of defilements, has the wisdom of the great, who sees fear in his lover. That person cuts off this thorny weapon of desire. At this time, I am the Buddha, the teacher, when describing the different things by virtue, etc., of the Gita, in which the Blessed One seeks great virtue, and this is expressed according to the truth, and this is explained as the means for attaining Nibbana, the pure path, which is based on the meaning of the teachings of the great Theras. He is established in the great monastery, a good pure judgment, a means of bringing joy to the sons of the clan. The yogis of this religion, who desire purity, have been ordained in the religion of the jinn, which they have acquired with difficulty, but do not know the straight path, the narrow path that saves by virtue, etc., according to the truth. For the sake of purity, even though they try, they do not achieve purity. Venerable ones. When I respectfully expound the pure path, all of you who desire purity, please listen respectfully to the pure path. The verse says, pure in the word, I will expound the pure path. The wise should know the pure path of Nibbana, in part, free from doubt. The path of purity is called the pure path. The means for the attainment of Nibbana, the Blessed One calls it the path, explaining, I will expound the pure path. This is the pure path, the Bhagavad Gita, which is explained by the power of the virtue of insight alone. In some Pali, for example, he says, when one sees with insight that all aggregates are impermanent, then one is weary of suffering. This is the path of purity. 1. In some Pali, he says by the power of insight and knowledge, for example, he says, examination does not exist in one who is not wise. Wisdom does not exist in one who does not examine. In one who has examination and wisdom, that one is said to be in the nearness of Nibbana. 1. In some Pali, he says by the power of intention, action, etc. As the Buddha said, all beings are purified by this path of action. Action has reached the path of intention. Knowledge has reached right view and right association. Dhamma has reached right action, right mindfulness, and right virtue, cultivated in concentration and insight, who is diligent, burns the heat of defilements, has the wisdom of the great, who sees fear in his lover, that person cuts off this thorny weapon of desire. At this time, I am the Buddha, the teacher, when describing the different things by virtue, etc., of the Gita, in which the Blessed One seeks great virtue, and this is expressed according to the truth, and this is explained as the means for attaining Nibbana, the pure path which is based on the meaning of the teachings of the great Theras. He is established in the great monastery, a good pure judgment, a means of bringing joy to the sons of the clan. The yogis of this religion, who desire purity, have been ordained in the religion of the jinn, which they have acquired with difficulty, but do not know the straight path, the narrow path that saves by virtue, etc., according to the truth. For the sake of purity, even though they try, they do not achieve purity, venerable ones. When I respectfully expound the pure path, all of you who desire purity, please listen respectfully to the pure path. The verse says, pure in the word I will expound the pure path. The wise should know the pure path of Nibbana in part, free from doubt. The path of purity is called the pure path. The means for the attainment of Nibbana, the Blessed One calls it the path, explaining, I will expound the pure path. This is the pure path, the Bhagavad Gita, which is explained by the power of the virtue of insight alone. In some Pali, for example, he says, when one sees with insight that all aggregates are impermanent, then one is weary of suffering. This is the path of purity. 1. In some Pali, he says, by the power of insight and knowledge, for example, he says, examination does not exist in one who is not wise. Wisdom does not exist in one who does not examine. In one who has examination and wisdom, that one is said to be in the nearness of Nibbana. 1. In some Pali, he says by the power of intention, action, etc. As the Buddha said, all beings are purified by this path of action. Action has reached the path of intention. Knowledge has reached right view and right association. Dhamma has reached right action, right concentration, and right meditation. Virtue has reached right speech, right action, and right livelihood. That is, the noble life is not purified by caste or wealth. In some Pali, the Buddha expressed it by the power of virtue, etc. As the Buddha said, a person who is full of virtue has wisdom, has a mind that is steadfast, steadfast in virtue, has made efforts, and has a mind that has been liberated, attains Nibbana at any time, having crossed the threshold that is rarely crossed. In some Pali, the Buddha speaks of the power of the Bodhisattva Bhakti Dhamma, the practice of concentration, etc. As he says, monks. These 4 practices are carried out for the purification of beings, for the realization of Nibbana. This is the path of the individual. 1. Even in the Bodhisattva Dhamma, the practice of concentration, etc., has the same meaning. But in this prophecy, the noble path, the Buddha speaks of the power of the 3 disciplines, the practice of virtue, etc. This is a brief description in the prophecy. 4. The verse, Sila Patidhanai, means that a monk abides in the precepts, and when he has fulfilled the precepts to the full, the Blessed One, called abide in the precepts in the verse Sila Patidhanai. Because of this reason, the Blessed One has explained in the verse Sila Patidhanai that a monk abides in the precepts, having fulfilled the precepts to the full. The word neuro has come to beings, the cause of action. The word Sitam Panchancha Bhavyam means that the mind and the mind of insight are developed. Indeed, in this verse, the Blessed One expresses the mind's meditation by the word mind, and the insight is expressed by the name Pana. The verse Atabe means that you have effort, and the effort of the Blessed One calls Atapa, because it means that it is the cause of burning defilements. To be hot, the effort that burns the defilements to be hot always exists in that monk. Therefore, that monk is called the Three Fathers. The Blessed One calls the wisdom Nipaka in the verse Nipaka, meaning to be well groomed by the knowledge. Then the Blessed One explains the Bhaviharaka Pana in this verse. Also in this prophecy, wisdom comes to an end 3 times. The first is called the knowledge of the body, the second is called the knowledge of insight, the third is called the knowledge of the mind, which is the guide in all affairs. The verse bhikkhus has the following meaning. Whoever sees fear in the cycle of existence, that person is called a bhikkhu. The words soimam vijdaya jadam mean that a bhikkhu is one who practices these 6 qualities, that is, by this virtue, by the meditation that the Blessed One has described, with the head, this mind, won by these 3 intelligences, won by the effort that is the fuel for burning the defilements, standing on the ground, which is virtue 1, and raising a knife, that is, the insight knowledge, which has a good sound, by the stone, which is the meditation, that is, the Bhariharika knowledge, which has strength, which is the viraya, which is the power in the state of the path. This monk is said to be cutting down the net, namely craving. In the state of the fruit, this monk is said to have already cut down the excellent view of beings and beings. For this reason, the Blessed One said, a person endowed with wisdom, established in virtue, cultivated in meditation and insight, who sees fear in the cycle, who has effort as a fuel for burning defilements, who has wisdom as a protector, that person can cut down the forest of attachment, namely the 108 cravings. The yogi, the Bhagavad Gita says in the Gita, is a wise man. By what wisdom does the yogi have to do in that matter? Because the matter has been decided for the yogi by the influence of previous karma, that is true. But the yogi must be a continuous doer, not a dissociator, by the power of virtuous action, and a doer with clear knowledge, which the Bhagavad Gita says in the verses, the 3 elements of the practice of abandoning the second group, the path of the mind and the practice of the middle, the means of overcoming suffering. There is suffering in suffering, etc. The abandonment of the defilements with the 3 conditions, the Dharma as the enemy of all defilements, there is past actions, etc. The elimination of the 3 defilements and the cause of the state of a person with a state of being, etc., is the Dharma that the Blessed One he declared by vision to such an extent. Asked how he declared? Answer. In this matter of action, the disciples of the precepts of morality, the Blessed One declared by virtue, the disciples of the mind, he declared by concentration, the disciples of the precepts of wisdom, he declared by wisdom. Again, the state of religion has its original form, and the Blessed One declared by virtue. Indeed, morality is considered the beginning of religion, because the Pali says, what is the beginning of all wholesome qualities, and especially pure morality? And because the Pali says, not committing all sins, etc. That morality is called beautiful, because that morality naturally brings about virtue, has no regrets, etc. The essence of religion is beautiful in the middle. The Blessed One has declared by meditation. Indeed, meditation is called beautiful in the middle of religion because the Pali says, to accumulate merit, etc. Again, meditation is called beautiful because that meditation brings about virtue, has power, etc. The essence of religion is beautiful. The Blessed One has finally declared by wisdom. Indeed, the name of the end of the Dharma is because in Pali, to purify one's mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of all the Buddhas. Medium 1. And because the Dharma is endowed with wisdom and excellent qualities, it is also called beautiful because it brings about the ability to be indifferent to the feelings of desire and dislike, just as the Bhagavad Gita says, the wise are not moved by words of criticism and praise, just as a mountain is not moved by the wind. The 2. The nature of the person who has the 3 faculties, the Bhagavad Gita has also declared through virtue. Because the person has attained the 3 faculties because of virtue, not because of any reason other than virtue. The nature of the person who has the 6 faculties, he declares through meditation. Because the person has attained the 6 faculties because of meditation, not because of any reason other than meditation. The action of piercing the body is declared by wisdom, because a person is dependent on the material world and not by any other cause. The one-way action, the effort, is the means of frequent practice in the cause, which is the happiness of the senses, he declares by virtue. The one-way action, the effort, is the means of frequent practice in the cause, which is the happiness of the senses, he declares by meditation. The action of joining the middle path, he declares by wisdom. The method of doing away with the elements is also declared by virtue. The method of doing away with the elements is declared by meditation. The method of doing away with all the elements is declared by wisdom. The renunciation of the defilements by the power of the Tarangaba is declared by virtue. The renunciation of defilements by the power of the mind, he proclaims by meditation by the power of the mind, he proclaims by wisdom. The Dharma that is the enemy of the past actions of defilements, he proclaims, and by virtue the Dharma that is the enemy of the arising of defilements. The renunciation of defilements by surrounding, freeing the mind from entanglement. Of defilements, he proclaims by meditation. The Dharma that is the enemy of the actions of dwelling in defilements, he proclaims by wisdom. As for the purification of the defilements, which are unrighteousness, he proclaims by virtue. The purification of the defilements is desire, he proclaims by meditation. The purification of the defilements, which are views, he proclaims by problems. The cause of one's being a sotabhana and a saktitakama, he proclaims by virtue in the same way. The reason for being an arahant is already declared by meditation. The reason for being an arahant is already declared by wisdom, because the Blessed One, the Sotapanana, said, he is well adjusted, perfect in the morals. The same is true of the arahant. As for the anakama, he said, he is well adjusted in meditation. But the arahant said, he is well adjusted in matters.